Let's get more insight on Navalny's call for a boycott. We're joined in the studio by Harlan Ullman, a senior advisor at the Atlantic Council. Harlan, welcome to the program.
Good to be with you.
So how much of a threat does Alexei Navalny really pose to Vladimir Putin?
Not very much. Mr. Navalny, of course, was convicted of a conspiracy charge for corruption, which under Russian law means he's not eligible to run for president.
He says those are trumped-up charges.
That sounds more like America with trumped-up charges. Whether that's true or not doesn't make any difference. Putin is running at about 80% popularity. The four candidates who are allied against him, I don't think are going to really make much of a dent. So my guess is Putin wins with at least 75% of the vote.
So if that's the case and the results, the final results are a foregone conclusion, why is this man making such a fuss?
Because there is a lot of resentment against Putin. He's been already elected 3 times president. This will be his 4th term. All is not as well in Russia as the Russians would like you to believe. However, having said that, I think that Mr. Putin is in sufficient control that this election is, as you say, a foregone conclusion. The most interesting candidate, however, is a 36-year-old woman television lady named Asieh Sobchak, whose father was governor of, or mayor of St. Petersburg when Mr. Putin was a deputy mayor of St. Petersburg.
Interesting. Well, going back to Navalny here, does he have a legal course? And the fact that he's calling for supporters to boycott the March vote, the Russians are saying, sorry, this could be illegal. I mean, can they do that? Can he?
They can try, but I think it's not really going to happen. There's just too much pressure. Mr. Putin is too popular. He's got the Duma on his side. He's got the Senate on his side. And so, yes, there will be protests. But I think over time, what happens if the Russian economy cannot deliver? Remember, Russia is still under sanctions. Oil prices are low. I think after Mr. Putin wins, we'll see what happens over the next several years. There is a mounting resentment against Putin. And I think at some stage, Mr. Putin is going to have to go. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It may not be for 3 or 4 years. But my guess is this would be his last go as president of Russia, and he may, in fact, decide to leave a little early.
You mentioned 2 things, Harlan. You said Putin is still popular, but you also said there is growing dissent.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Which one is it?
Well, right now, his popularity will win out, clearly. But because there's growing dissent, that's something that the Russian government needs to deal with. And unless the economic situation turns around dramatically, this could be tough going. Having said that, Mr. Putin is on a roll. Russia is doing very, very, very well internationally. Look what it did in Syria. It's now trying to intervene in North Korea. It's made its mark, so its influence is growing, and that, I think, helps Mr. Putin at home. But he's playing a very weak hand, and at some stage, a lot of this will catch up to him, and when it does, I think the resentment will then take over, and we'll see what Mr. Putin's future is.
And what about Alexei Navalny? How much support does he have?
Probably very little, maybe 10% at most. It's very difficult to be in dissent in Russia. This was true in the days of the Soviet Union. It was in the days of the Tsar. Russia really likes to have a strong leader, at least most of the people do. So Navalny is really in a very, very weak position right now. He will have some support. That support may be growing, but my guess is he will not be allowed as a candidate.
And your prediction, no major surprises in March. Vladimir Putin will win again.
March 18, Mr. Trump ought to be writing a congratulatory cable to him right now.
All right, Harlan Ullman, thank you, as always.